In the previous lesson, we've showed you how you'll be able to open up your PHP file or your PHP folder in your web browser. And I've also showed you the basic code or the basic command of how you'll be able to open up and also set your PC and set your files so in such a way so that you can see them. Okay, so first off, we're going to learn about HTML coding, a bit of HTML coding and a bit of PHP coding over in this lesson and how those actually work. In the previous lesson, I've showed you about the command of echo. You can see from over here. So this echo command is basically a command which will allow you to have your content over on this website or your web browser. You can see that I still have my local host running. Make sure to keep your local host running. If it's not working, then what you're going to do is open up CMD again. Let's say I'm going to type in CMD. I'm going to go over here, run as an administrator. Here you're going to do is type in PHP, do the same thing, space, then type in hyphen, capital S, local host, colon, and 4000. Hit on enter, and this is running as this is started. Minimize it and keep it running in the background. Now you can see from over here as I have echo, now I opened up my bracket and this is the requirement of how this command works. You can see bracket and then we have is double quotation. There is going to contain the content in between them. Then we closed off the bracket and then end it with a semicolon. And before that we have is open PHP and closing PHP. So when you put up those codes and then put it up over here, only then and only then you will see the content will appear over here. Let's say I'm going to do is cut it off. I'm going to cut it off and let's see how it works. If it still works, then it means it's a bit different. So I'm going to open it up again, Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to type in my content. First I'm going to do is save it. I'm going to do is go over here. I'm going to do is go or run it, start debugging, find PHP extension. Then I'm going to do is search for my PHP extension if there is. If you see that PHP debug and all of those are available, make sure to install those. I'm going to do is installing. I'm going to make sure to install this one too, and you can see both of them are installing. And after they're done, I'm going to do is show it to you how you'll be able to debug them step by step, one by one. And if you also want to use them as a live server and all of those, you can also do that too. But I'm going to suggest you to not do that because when you are using PHP as a live server, it's going to become a really big hassle. Okay, so make sure to do that and make sure to use save it up and then go back, open up your server again, and that is how I suggest you to work on it. As you can see, PHP 1.3.4 has opened up and also extensions. And I'm going to do is run it up. I'm going to do is run, start debugging. And you can see listen for xdebug and all of those. You can use whichever one you want. You can launch it. You can see run and debug. Well, all of them are over here. You can see it is launching and you can see that this has appeared over here. This is a lot like a live server which I showed you in HTML and CSS, but you can see that HTML this mainly turned into an HTML file but not PHP. Minimize it, and from here I'm going to do is type in this PHP. First I'm going to do is type in question mark, then I'm going to type in PHP. I'm going to close it off, this again, close it off. I'm going to do is question and then close it off. Now this is PHP, so I'm going to run it again. Let's say I'm going to run, start debugging, PHP run, yes, open launch, and you can see that this has appeared. And you can see the echo is not visible. And now we have our server, which is 4000 and www, and also our index.php running. So that is how PHP mainly works. I'm going to open up my web browser again and open up my Visual Studio Code 2 and then change my content and see how it actually works. As you can see that this has debugged my content and also my commands. So the next thing I'm going to do is open up my PHP and run my variable. So I'm going to go over here, which is going to be index.php, and here I'm going to do is type in, let's say I'm going to type in hey there. I'm going to do is reload it, and you can see it is still not working. So I'm going to do is go over to my Visual Code again, and I'm going to do is debug this. Okay, so you can see I'm going to do is go over to run, and I'm going to do start debugging, open launch JSON, and you can see this is appearing over here. And I'm going to do is add configuration if you want to, and if you still are not seeing it, I'm going to do is reload it, and now you can see that it has turned into hey there. So this is how you'll be able to use HTML and also like use PHP at the same time. And make sure to like use the PHP and also debug it in such a way so that you will be able to see it. Like obviously it's going to take a bit of a time because this is not HTML and CSS, so that whenever you press on run and debug, it's going to appear up, and whenever you reload, it's not going to appear up right then, because PHP works in like separate ways. Just like I told you from the intro, it goes through 4 phases and then shows you on your website. So you have to like keep your server open, then it's going to go through your coding, then it's going to go through your MySQL, and then PHP, and then last is going to go over to the cloud and then show it to you over through your document and also on your PC on your screen. First I'm going to do is type in, let's say I'm going to go over to Visual Studio Code again, and from here I'm going to do is go over to index. Here I'm going to type in another content, which is going to be like this, and here I'm going to type in a tag, which is not going to be this one. Okay, so I'm going to close it off. Here I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to use another code, which is going to be h1 from HTML and CSS. I'm going to make some spaces over here, and then in between the double quotation, I'm going to do is the code. Let's say type in h1, which is going to be a heading tag. I'm going to close it off. You can see h1 over there. I'm going to do is close it off to this bracket. Then I'm going to close it off /h1. Close that thing off. You can see this is now done. The next thing I'm going to do is going to be refresh it, see if it works, and you can see that if it's still not working, the next thing I'm going to do is going to be debug this too. So I'm going to do is minimize it, go over to Visual Studio Code. Now I'm going to do is, let's say I'm going to open up JSON again. Like first off, run it, run without debugging, and let's see if it works. Now you can see that hey there has been put, and also like put up my heading 1 has been applied on my PHP folder. Now let's use my paragraph command. Okay, I'm gonna go over to Visual, and I'm gonna do is enter, and make sure to keep in mind that here the semicolon is how a line ends or how a command ends. So here I'm gonna type in echo again, echo, hit on enter, and I'm gonna do is put in double quotation. Now here I'm going to put in my paragraph tag. So now you can see my paragraph tag has been put. I'm going to open up my closing tag to paragraph, close it off. Now I'm going to put in my content in between my paragraph. So this is going to be, this is my site. This is going to be my site. You can see this is going to be my site. I'm going to close it off too, which you can see from over here. Close it off. Now I'm going to put in my horizontal row too. If you want to do it, I can put in my horizontal row in between them. So let's say I'm going to put in my horizontal row. So I'm going to type in echo again. Here I'm going to open up my tag, which is going to be double quotation first, and then I'm going to type in HR, which is horizontal row. I'm going to do is going to be opening up my tag HR, close, and it has been done. So I'm going to do is run it again. I'm going to go over run. I'm going to do is run without debugging. Yes, and restart it. I can see syntax error has appeared up. If it appears up, I'm going to do is open up my Visual Studio Code again, which you can see from over here, and make sure to see wherever I have some mistakes going on. And if it's not working, you can see H1, hey there, and all of those. Let's see where the mistake is. And you can see this is still working, which is going to be over here. There should be an end over here. Okay, now let's run it over. Run without debugging. Yes, reload it. And I can see that this has been put. Well, make sure to use all the commands very carefully, because if you're making some mistakes and if you're skipping a part or even some signs or symbols, it's still not going to work. Just like you saw on this part, I didn't put on my semicolon over there and it showed me as an error. So make sure to do that and make sure to be more careful. And whenever you're opening up, you can open it up without debugging if you feel like debugging is going to take a bit of a time. But there is like a lot of advantage of debugging because you can use it for later purpose too. You can see in logs.json there is a lot of debugging over here. You can see how the HTMLs and all of those work. But if you don't want to use debugging, just open it up without running the debugging and then opening up on your web browser, and that is how you'll be able to see your PHP file appearing up on your web browser. So thank you for watching this video on how you'll be able to open up your PHP file by using HTML and all of those. And another thing is that when I open up CMD, you can see that it is like all of those over here. Like that is how this actually works, and that is how you can see that your server is working and also your localhost 4000 is working. You can see that this is accepted and then closing. So when it closes is that when I close it off, restart it, or like open up another one, that is when it closes, and you can see that it is accepted. So now you can see that you need like an internet connection, and obviously you're gonna need like a faster service and also your server on most of the time so that you can work with PHP and show it up on your web browser. So thank you for watching this video about how you will know about how you'll be able to use HTML in PHP and also use the codes and commands of HTML and CSS over on PHP. So let's move on to the next lesson.